Melissa McCoy and A.J. Catoline are the editors, or some of the editors, on the Apple comedy series Ted Lasso. I'm Matt Noble here at Gold Derby, and I want to ask you guys, I'll start with Melissa, what is the trickiest thing about editing the show?
I would say going from comedy to drama and back again, and really finding that, the perfect pitch of comedy and feeling, and
yeah, it's definitely a show where comedy and pathos meet. So yeah, I think it's about finding that balance. There's so much more to Ted. I think I realized that long ago, that he definitely has a deep message, and it's about finding that balance, and having the taking time with the moments. The characters are really there's a joke, and then it's the characters kind of feeling the joke and reacting to it. So it's great to dig deep.
Yeah. And how do you find those moments in the and manage that balance in the edit room, Melissa?
Yeah, it's a lot of really paying attention to the dailies and what little nuances the characters are doing when they're list like their responses to the characters and how these people are affecting one another. So we really are conscious about our reaction shots, and how Ted is influencing the team, how the team is influencing Ted, and how this cast of characters is coming together, because we have such a wild group. Like Rebecca's in the mix, Higgins in the mix, Keely, the team, and it's just like, they're kind of coming together as a family a little bit, and really building those relationships naturally, and the humor of all these kind of people, these from all different, that probably wouldn't be together, but Ted kind of brings them all together in just such a fun way, a fun, welcoming way. And so, yeah, we really pay attention to how they're interacting with one another, and trying to build that familial feeling of team life, of sports life, of office life, of real life. It really touches on all those aspects of your life and how those things intersect and blend together,
And I think, like Melissa touched on an interesting point, the show is about a team and a team coming together, and sort of in a meta way, the show is a team and people who have come together from England, from America, to create this show. AJ, how does that team all sort of operate, and what's the sense of sort of team spirit on Ted Lasso?
Oh well, absolutely. Post-production is a team. I say that, soccer, like picture editing, is a game of collaboration, and that's so true. Viewers may not realize that there are so many visual effects in Ted Lasso. We do not play in front of a live stadium. All that is, it's created in post-production, from the visuals, in the stadiums, to the sound that you're hearing. That scene where in episode 2 where they chant wanker at Ted, that was just 10 people on the set chanting that, and we through the magic of post mixing made that sound like 10,000 people. So and then our music editors stepping in, and our music team helping us with the score, and Melissa and I also pick a lot of the cues, but then we work with them to find the because Jason knows it when he hears it. So it's a massive team going on, behind the scenes, from visual effects to music and sound. And we're very grateful to be kind of at the center of that, sort of directing traffic, passing the ball for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely from the top down. Jason's super involved and loves, he's always open to ideas from wherever they come. If it serves the story, and the characters, he's all about the Ted Lasso way. And I feel like Bill Lawrence is like that too. He's like, it's a team effort sort of thing, and he wants to hear from us. And of course, we there are leaders, but they're also open and never, never shut down an idea. It's always open ears, open hearts. And it's just a really wonderful place to work in that way of feeling supported.
I so agree. Yeah. A great collaboration for sure.
Can each of you guys think of a particular scene from season 1 that was particularly challenging to edit, but where everything just came together beautifully in the end? Melissa?
Definitely episode 7, where they go on the road trip, and the karaoke scene where Rebecca sings Let It Go, leads into Ted's panic attack, out into this, outside the bar, where then Rebecca comes and kind of picks him up, and you see this connection between them, where it's, the episode title is Make Rebecca Great Again. And it's, so yeah, that was, the karaoke with the whole team in this small bar. And so that's got its own set of challenges, where you're, matching the track and the performance. And, I think she's saying live. So that's, I mean, she's got an amazing voice. Hannah's, a talented star of the stage. So she's got an amazing voice. So she's saying that live. And then you have the whole team responding to that. And then we had to transition into Ted's panic attack, and Jason was very specific with how he wanted that to feel viscerally. So we worked with jump cuts and sound design. There's a big sound design element to that. My assistant did a wonderful job of, we're hearing reverb, and we're hearing a high pitched whine, and then we jump cut him out, and we didn't really have a ton of footage to kind of create that just just out of your mind kind of feel. So we were blowing up shots and laying them over with the jump cuts and kind of creating this where you get disoriented because time has passed, because then all of a sudden Rebecca's, we leave Rebecca singing on the stage, and you kind of don't know how much time has passed. And then all of a sudden she's pulling him out of this panic attack. And so we were in close, tight, and jump cuts. And then finally, when she comes and pulls him out, you get the wide shot of kind of see where he lands. And yeah, that was a scary undertaking, just because there was so much to go on there. And I had such wonderful reactions. There was one take where the camera rack focused from Keely to Roy, and Roy is singing along with Hannah. She's singing Let It Go, and you're like, yeah, Phoebe, he would watch that with Phoebe, so he knows all the lyrics, sort of thing. And I just was I love those little moments when you find them in the dailies, and you're like, oh, that happened one time, of I gotta remember and fit that in the right spot on that line. So you're kind of building the scene around these wonderful little moments between the team and the story that's going, the larger story that's going on. So
yeah. That was a great episode, of which Mel won the Ace Eddie, I might add.
And beat you, AJ, because you were also nominated for a different episode.
Yeah.
I don't envy the voters. How do they?
I know. I know. I was for sure, because the finale was so good. I was like, you got this, AJ.
Mel's speech was so great. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the finale is a good example. I mean, that's a beautiful episode. The hope that kills you. That's such a theme for the pandemic, and I think why the show resonated during the pandemic. And that ending. There's so many different places that was shot. You have the Rebecca and Higgins and Keely watching up in the stands, and you have the fans in the pub, and you have the players on the field, and Ted and Beard on the dugout, and the crowd reacting. And then I don't think people realize that each of those scenes were shot on different days and in different locations, and the challenge was to make it feel fluid, it all was happening in the moment. And it really came together with picking a lot of those fluid takes to keep it moving. And then the visual effects came in, and then the music. So it just kept building. And by the time we laid the music in and laid Marcus Mumford's You'll Never Walk Alone, the notes we were getting back from the studio was, oh my God, I totally cried, which is hilarious for comedy notes. But that, and then that scene with Roy and when he walks off the field, which will be perhaps the last time in his career as a football player, when he walks off and Keely finds him in the locker room, and we have that beautiful wide shot of the whole locker room as they hold hands. It's just a great moment for the audience to take a breath. And so, yeah, I love putting that together. And the other scene that comes to mind for me is episode 106, the Iverson speech scene, where Ted mocks a press conference done by Allen Iverson years ago, where he's repeating the word practice. It's about practice, man, not the game. That scene, Jason just kind of wrote maybe days before they shot it. So it was very improvisational. And that's what I love, working with a great comedic actor like Jason Sudeikis. His comedy is so, he's just so strong at improv. And even as we speak, I don't even know how season 2 ends. A lot of these scripts come very sort of as they go. They're working. Everything at the show is constantly working and being developed. And so I think that provides almost like a real element to the show. And the actors have talked about this too. I'm not revealing anything. The actors talk about how they don't get the scripts until sometimes days before shooting. And so that just provides a real fresh improvisational element where they're thinking up new ideas. And that's very fun in the editing room to see that energy. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was really cool how Melissa was saying, like, she sort of like found, like, there's this shot, this take that only happened once, and it's about sort of finding that, remembering to put it in. AJ, can you think of a moment where you're sort of like a bit of a treasure hunter? You found some gold, you found some gems that you're like, we've got to use that.
Well, we knew we had to use Jason hitting his head on the door of Rebecca's office. That was absolutely a one take. That was the last take of the day for Jason, because he really hit his head. And
yeah, I heard like was blood coming out or something.
Yeah, I heard that story. He had to go visit the set medic, and that he did not break. He delivered. We did have to ADR. I mean, replace his dialogue of what he said when he got up, because he kind of mumbled something, and obviously it just hit his head.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally clear. So we did that with the magic of editing. There, trying to think. Yeah, sometimes it. You just know, like, this take, we want to get to the performance of this take. So how do we get there? There's certain anchor points we have, and it becomes about, how can we cut away so we can come back to it? Definitely. Yeah, that's part of the job. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just I was just gonna say, I was just working on something like that where they kind of found this hilarious joke in the close-up, but you don't always want to start in the close-up. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, how do I get around to that joke and like building a pregnant pause so I can get there, because this is hilarious. And they found it as they workshop through, like, usually you start with your masters and your overs, and then they found it when they got to the close-up, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious. I gotta find a way to get there in an organic way.
Yeah. I think, like, something that I would imagine to be one of the trickier things of editing a show like Ted Lasso are the soccer matches or the football matches, because some people are very used to watching a lot of sports on TV, and can sort of probably have a good, like, sort of gut test for, this doesn't look quite right. Like, this isn't, like, just the pacing of it and all that sort of stuff. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and that's actually a really easy thing to edit, because but how do you get those football games right, Melissa?
We have, luckily, Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard, is kind of our go-to for football questions. Like, he's very, like, I think actually I saw on his Instagram, he's at the match today that's happening. And Jason was talking about it yesterday that they were going. I think it's like a semifinal match there. I don't know much about, football, but, when we were putting together the football scenes, we did a lot of like pre-visualization with our VFX house. So we kind of like plan out the plays beforehand, and kind of have a blueprint that we send around, and Brendan comments on it and what it should look like. And we now have a second unit director who's shooting all that stuff for us. So, it's very planned, I think, from the script level. And that comes from the guys over there that are kind of like our aficionados. But yeah, after we'll build a scene too, sometimes we'll send it over and say, like, you know, what goes in the scoreboard here? What should we be seeing here? Would the goalie be doing something like this? Does this feel natural? And they will give us those kind of performance notes to say, like, do you have something more like this? Or, but they choreograph and script a lot of the plays. It's never kind of like, you know, go out there and see what they can do sort of thing. It's like, this is the play. And then, you know, when we were first doing it, we were building it from, like, I remember pulling clips in of like Messi, you know, playing and finding the plays like that, and we put together the scene, and we put title cards like, you know, Colin passes the ball, but you see like a professional. So we kind of like built based on that. So very, very planned, very choreographed, and then, you know, analyzed by our gurus over there.
Yeah, I think we call those steel-o-matics, right, Mel?
Yes.
And,
Steel-o-matics.
Yeah, a steel-o-matic. It comes from YouTube. Oftentimes, it's Brendan who will go on YouTube and be like, you know, here's an example. So we'll use that in editing. I think also our cast is really good. You know, Phil Dunster, who plays Jamie Tart, amazing footballer, really good. And like that shot into episode 2, where he's in practice and he just kicks that beautiful ball up into the upper corner of the net. That was all practical, no visual effects. Christo, who plays Danny Rojas, also a great player. So it's wonderful to have casts that are just good. And, you know, Christo does that great bicycle kick in episode 10 from last year. So having good players really helps. But yes, they meticulously plan it out. And sometimes there certainly are shots that we kind of steal that we need to put it together to make it work. But absolutely. Yeah, they shoot the football really well, and it's a big part of it. Although we're not a football show, that's what's so great. The show is so much more than that. But when we do go into the games, we want to get it right, because there is such a culture around that knows the game and the chants, and we want to speak to that. I just noticed that there's the Wembley Cup, FA Cup is back, and they're all excited in England to be back into football. So just seeing a lot of that news footage. It just makes me feel the presence of the soccer football nation out there.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you get any of the football stuff wrong, you will hear it from the English viewers who watch the show.
The Americans have learned it's boots, not cleats.
Right.
And offside is singular. I've learned these things.
Yes.
Just quickly from each of you, is there a film or a TV show that made you want to get into editing before you sort of started working in the field, Melissa?
Good question.
It's so funny because I was just talking about this with Jason, because we were talking about Good Will Hunting randomly, and that came out when I was in high school, and I just loved that movie so much. And we were talking about it. I just rewatched it because I had the poster in my dorm room. And it really sent me on a search of all the classics. Like at that point I went back and watched, you know, The Third Man and Casablanca, and just like, you know, I just got really into cinema, like, you know, just appreciated it based on that high school experience from that movie, because it was just such a personal movie. And so I rewatched it in the Robin Williams on the park bench when he was, you know, it's like one long take and it just pulls back, and he just gives this really beautiful speech about, you know, life. And I don't know if you've seen the movie recently or remember that speech, but it's all about just like appreciating life and not being cynical in life, because we're just given one life. And it was really like the Ted Lasso way. I was like, wow, I've found my way to kind of what I loved about that movie with Ted Lasso, strangely, because it's just a beautiful celebration of life in that way too. So that was my movie, and I've just been talking about it.
Yeah. AJ?
You know, it's a tough one, but I'm a big Aaron Sorkin fan, and I know Jason Sudeikis is too. You know, loving films like A Few Good Men, you know, The American President, and of course the West Wing series. just because these are shows where he mixed, great drama and sort of high stakes between the characters, but also, there was comedy, and it was told through, in a lighthearted way. So yeah, watching the West Wing, it was a good show. I'm a big Kubrick fan. I loved how he took his time with the editing, and it was very slower pace and introspective. And great in British greats too. I love great British comedies that stick with me. Fish Called Wanda and Nuns of the Run. Oh yeah, and of course Love Actually. These are just great ensemble characters that really shows with casts that speak to the sort of the British experience in British comedy. And then I actually thought a lot about that in season 1. It's like, wow, these Ted Lasso feels a lot like Love Actually, because it is very warming, and yet the cast is all ensemble, and we intercut between them. They're looking at each other and thinking about each other. So yeah, that feels resonant there.
Yeah, I was not expecting a show called Ted Lasso to be such an ensemble-driven show.
I know.
So that's worked out quite well. And I really like your answer, AJ. I've got the West Wing DVDs over my shoulder right now, so big Sorkin fan too. And it sort of is funny, like Sorkin sort of did dramas that had a lot of comedy elements in it, and now you're working on a comedy that's got a lot of dramatic elements. So that's really cool. Guys, thank you so much for talking with me today. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your awards predictions and watch other interviews with awards contenders. And Melissa and AJ, all the best of luck with the Emmy Awards this year. Hopefully you both get nominated. Hopefully you both win this time. By a tie. Tie. The one time, or the second time, Ted Lasso will really want to tie.
Yes. Yep.
Go Richmond.
Thanks so much.
Go Greyhound. Yes, thank you.